Serious Redditors who have killed / seriously injured someone and don't regret it. What's the story behind it? My little brother and I attended the same elementary school. This happened when I was in 5th grade and he was in 3rd grade. Growing up, my little brother was scrawny and got made fun of a lot since he wore glasses and cries easily. We would always either ride our bikes or walk home from school together since we lived close enough. One day I was picking him up as usual after my tennis class. I turned the corner to his classroom and saw another boy push my brother down to the ground and stepped on his head. I lost my shit, came up to the kid and swung my tennis racket right against his open mouth and 2 of his front teeth came out. There was blood everywhere. He screamed bloody murder. Teachers came out, snatched the tennis racket out of my hand and grabbed me by the arm to the principal's office. Kid had to get stitches on his lower lip where one tooth ripped into the flesh. I got in so much trouble, but it was worth it knowing my brother didn't get picked on as much after that happened. Everyone knew his psycho sister lol. Mid-90s working security. Found a guy breaking into a car. Didn't see the other guy behind me that proceeded to stab me in my left lung. Pulled my revolver and put a bullet in his stomach with the knife still in me. This is pre-cell phones, so I radioed my partner and had him call an ambulance. They caught the other guy at the hospital after his friend dropped him off there, and I think he got sentenced to 8 years. My wife and I were walking back to our car at like 2 AM downtown after hanging out with friends to get my emergency debit card out of car to get a hotel because we weren't sure if we were sober enough to drive. Car was about a mile away in a garage on a now empty street. Notice this weird combination of dude bro / hipster was following us and getting closer, but not thinking anything of it. He manages to sneak up on us and kicks my wife in the back and laughs. Never seen this guy before or anything. I hit him harder than anybody I've ever hit in my life. He falls to the ground and tries to wrestle me, and I skin off the side of his face and forehead by basically using the concrete as a belt sander. I get off him because I assume he'll realize I'll kill him if he keeps fighting. He tries to attack me again, so we go back to the ground and I just start beating his eye socket over and over until it was smashed, blood pouring out of his eye, and my hand is now broken. I get off him again, and he is still trying to attack. Probably should have left at that point, because we could have easily fled, but I was still in fight or flight mode, and I don't have the flight mode for some reason, so I blood choke him out, not air. He goes out. I put him on his side, make sure he has a clear airway and blood won't pour into his mouth, and use his phone to call him an ambulance. It was the entrance to the garage that this happened at, and it was all in view of the security camera. I don't feel like dealing with the police that night, so go up to the security camera and put my license in front of it for a few seconds because I assume they will review the footage, and if they need to talk to me, they will see my license info as well as my license plate on my car that I ended up walking to. Never heard anything back. This was like 10 years ago. My buddy's mom was killed by a drunk driver. The drunk driver posted bail, skipped town, and was never caught. I asked him once if he ever thought about trying to find the guy. He said he asked his dad the same thing, and instead of answering that question just told him not to ever go looking for the guy because he is long gone and no one will ever find him. My buddy said the way his dad said it, he knew he meant the guy is dead now. He said the only thing he wonders is if the guy actually skipped town or was dead before that. I dealt with some guilt for a few months after, but it was 20 years ago, and now that I have kids, I regret nothing. Long story short, I was 17, home alone. I heard noises outside, and the dog was barking like mad. I took him with me, as well as my dad's rifle, and when I caught some man trying to steal from my dad's massive tool-filled workshop, I shouted at him. He turned and had a gun in his hand, and I shot him out of reflex. Then I ran inside and called 911 because I was a stupid kid that should've done that in the first place. He lived. I thankfully hit his shoulder. If my hands hadn't been shaking, it might have been a different story. I was 14, made a dumb choice, ended up in a bad situation. Grown man started raping me. I stabbed him in the throat. I called the sheriff, we both went to the hospital. I got a rape kit and questioned. He didn't make it. I never heard anything else about it. Guy jumped me and started to stab me. Never met him. but he liked this girl I had hooked up with. He say me call her a bitch or something. It was in jest, we were friends. Bar closes, I start to walk home. He ends up stabbing me 24 times. While almost bleeding to death, I broke his jaw, cheek, and eye socket. He got 15 years, I got a 90k helicopter ride. TL. Doctor, I beat the shit out of 2 other students for beating up my friend. 3rd guy ran off. Smart move. Here's a brief story, since I don't want to glorify it and end up on /r/I am Redditors. My friend has always been the target of bullies, and I was as well before puberty turned me into a behemoth. I love my friend and he's my best friend to this day, almost 30 years later. Bullies were shoving him, I intervened and they went out of their way to find my friend. When I wasn't nearby, they found him and beat him so badly I just freaked out. I found the 3 assholes in the stairwell, kicked their leader down the steps and trailed behind, beating him as hard as I could, while one of his friends tried hitting me. I don't remember much of the events after that, but I came to at the principal's office. My dad and friend's dad were there. Friend's dad was screaming at the principal about how his son is constantly being attacked, and I'm the only one who has done a fucking thing to protect him. The guy that ran away and the backup friend were there. Backup had a broken eye socket and a fucked up face. Leader was nowhere to be seen. He went to the hospital. I don't know what I did to him, but I didn't get more than a month of detention. Thanks, I think, to my friend's dad threatening the school. Dad was proud of me, but that's no surprise, since his blood is where I get my anger and strength from. I got pretty badly bruised myself, but I don't even remember getting hit. Leader bully came back to school like a month later and never even trash talked his friends. That was sophomore year. Nobody fucked with me or my friend ever again after that. Friend is doing fine today. He's always been a tough son of a bitch. I ended up with the label of goddamn psycho, which was worth it to protect my friend. Guy I knew was letting his dog out one night when he noticed somebody in his parked Jeep. He crept up, saw some little gangster shitbag wannabe in the process of lifting his stereo, and beat the ever-living shit out of him to where the piece of shit had to get picked up by ambulance. The cop taking the report told him that he could have ended up going to jail for that, but this kid already had a long rap sheet, so they let him off the hook. Stupid little fuck. They kept their dog on a 3-foot leash, yes leash, tied to a chain link fence with no food or water. You could see the poor thing's rib bones, hip bones, ears leaking fluid, and it clearly had a type of mange. I went and talked to the owner, who informed me that the dog just won't eat what I give him, so let the mutt starve. I offered to take the dog off his hands and he laughed and told me his wife would kill him if he gave away his guard dog, but he'd sell it to me for $500. I was livid. I called animal control shortly after leaving, and they visited the next day, giving him a warning stating that he needed to get the dog proper food, water, shelter and a vet visit. He gives the poor me, I just lost my job, I can't afford any of that BS. Total lie. The guy worked for a Reddit company and made enough to buy a Bentley with obnoxious rims a week prior. Everyone knew he was loaded, and they say they'll be back to ensure has complied. 3 days pass, and I've been going into his yard every night giving the dog, who at this point I named Funan due to his odd smell, food and water, making sure he's not starving. He was the sweetest thing and absolutely loved every second of human contact he got. Animal control still hadn't come back, so I called again, and they informed me that they can't force the man to take care of the dog, and so long as it's not dying/dead they can't take it. About a week after that, and still no change, so I go back to neglectful jerk store and inform him he's giving me the dog or I'm taking it, his choice. He laughs and says if I come back again he'll beat my ass, and as I turned around he sucker punched me and I fell off his porch face first, leaving me with a bloody lip and a nice bruised ego. He still wanted to fight, so I picked up a rock from his yard and punched him with it. A neighbor came by and broke us up. Jerk is spitting blood and has a few chipped teeth and quite a gash on his scalp, telling us she saw everything and would call the cops if he didn't give us his dog. He instantly says to take the dog and to leave him the hell alone. He hates it anyways. I left with a busted lip, black eye, 2 cuts on my head that needed 14 stitches total, and a dog. Looking back I see how I handled it poorly and could have well been arrested or worse, but I couldn't stand to see that dog sit out in the rain another day. Not sure if this counts as I didn't physically kill the person, but I feel as if my actions contributed to someone's death. A friend of my brother's showed up at my house out of the blue on a Saturday night and begged to crash on my couch. I barely knew her and honestly never really liked her, but she said she was having trouble where she was staying and had nowhere else to go. I set up an air mattress for her on my living room floor. Around 9 PM she asked if I would walk one half a block with her to the local bar. It was snowing pretty hard, so I made sure she had on a hat and gloves, boots and a jacket. At midnight I had enough and wanted to go home, but she was having a good time and wanted to stay. I told her the door would be unlocked. She never made it to my house. The police found her dead body covered in snow on the train tracks next to my house. Cause of death, hypothermia. Back. 18. Do I feel awful for leaving her at that bar? Absolutely. But do I regret offering her a place to stay and spending time with her when no one else would? No. At least someone was there for her on her last night on Earth. I was in Rome during a month-long study abroad trip with a class of about 18 students. It was a last night in Italy and we all went out to a variety of different bars and clubs to celebrate. At one of these bars, apparently it was a known American bar, that is, a bar known for being popular with American tourists, I met a South African man outside who was playing a djembe drum, so I struck up a conversation about music with him. Talked for about 20 minutes, became friends, and this man was so enamored with our conversation that he gives me one of his several djembes. I thought it was pretty cool and kept it as a token of an international experience in Rome. Fast forward another 15 minutes and I'm in this bar trying to find my classmates. A young Italian man, about my age, at the time I was 21. Comes up to me, sees my djembe and starts talking about music and the arts with me. At this point, I'm having a blast. I love talking about this shit. I was an art/film double major at my college, and music is a huge part of my life. We talk for a while, and he invites me to meet his artist/musician friends with him at a bar down the street. I oblige and follow him. He leads me down two alleyways, the second of which is so dimly lit that I can't see too much. All of a sudden, my new Italian friend is nowhere to be seen. It was like he evaporated into thin air. I stop, confused. Suddenly, 5 tall men, probably only a few years older than me, all dressed in black, surround me and start shoving me, holding me down, sticking their hands in my pockets, grabbing my wallet, phone, and cigarettes, which also had 2g of hash in the box, effectively taking all of my belongings and knocking the wind out of me. Remember, I still have my djembe tucked under my arm, and they are surprisingly uninterested by it. As I'm starting to hunch over due to pain, one of the dudes tries again to pick my back pocket. I'm so terrified at this point that some primal force within me retaliates. I swing my djembe around full force with my right arm, connecting with this dude's face and nose pretty hard. The guy crumples with a nose full of blood and seems pretty out of it. The other thieves are starting to get spooked. I'm screaming for help as is unfolding, trying to make a scene, but one takes a swing at me. I somehow dodge the punch, pretty proud of that, and crack this guy in the face with the djembe too. A small gathering of people start running over to help, and the muggers hightail it out of there with all of my possessions. I start sprinting after them, not wanting to lose my phone or my wallet. I was a cross-country runner at the time, and had a good bit of endurance, so I follow these guys for about a half mile until one of the dudes gives me back my wallet, with no money or cards in it, and my phone. Kisses me on the cheek saying my apologies, my American friend. My friends are drunk and do this to people from time to time. They all take off. A girl spread some nasty rumors about me, and 3 of her friends tried to jump me. One of them had a bat. They got stupid, and instead of rolling up behind me and ambushing me, they decided to announce themselves. While they were busy chatting shite, I punched the leader in the throat and nicked his bat before any of them figured out what had happened. That fight ended quick. I left the moment they were all down, for obvious reasons, and didn't really bother to check their injuries on my way. But based on the sounds alone, I broke several bones that night. I regret nothing. A bigger dude kept talking trash to me, so I slapped him. I guess in my fit of rage, I slapped him so hard it actually gave him tinnitus, the non-stop ringing in your ear. The guy's a bitter asshole who doesn't know how to shut his mouth, so I still believe he deserved it. Edit. I forgot to mention this guy had a history of physical violence and would shove smaller kids. He got arrested later on for hitting an underage high schooler. This was the only time I actually resorted to physical violence. It was just too much. I fully admit I could have resorted to something less violent, but I genuinely believed that was the only way to shut him up. And it worked. Last I heard he got sent back to Korea. This happened in 7th grade. This group of kids kept on bothering me and annoying me. They kept on daring each other to punch me. The first time, I let it slide. Second time, I punched one of them in the chest, deciding it's the only way I'll be left alone. He had an asthma attack and I just walked away. I would do it again, since it caused people not to mess with me anymore. Had a bully in class. He and his friend kept fucking around with my desk. Kept throwing things at me, etc. Then I just got sick of it. The kid was balancing on the front two legs of his chair, so I walked up behind it and kicked the chair out from under him. He fell forward smashing his nose and mouth on the desk. I guess he tried to catch himself cause he broke a finger too. They didn't fuck with me after that. When me and a group of friends left the bar, I don't drink, to walk back to my car, I see some guy in the driver's seat. I opened the door, pulled him out by his neck, and start to hit him. He then cries out, "Dude, what are you doing?" I then get this horrific feeling that it's not my car and let go of the guy. The moment I did, he legged it. I looked in the car and saw he jacked the stereo, so I chased him, and as I was catching up, he threw a hold all at me, shouting, "Have it." The bag contained my stereo and his pickings for that night. To this day I still use the bag when traveling, and my wife loves the Carpenter's CD that came with it.